to be here on a very short notice. And so, today my fellow candidate Ken Lo and myself, we are very honored to have this opportunity to be hosting this roundtable with our very own great member of parliament, Ralph Goodell. Ralph is, I'm sure to many of you, to all of you sitting at this table, needs no introduction. He has exceptional experience in government, and he is not only known for his great vision, but he is really known for this great track record, and he led this hard work that led to this great debt deduction and surplus over the years. So I just wanted to say how lucky we are to have him today, and I'm really, really honored to be having all of you here today as well, because today is about listening to you, and together we can find a solution about what we should be doing when we're back governing. Mm-hmm. And this economy right now, today it's about economic issues. That's the topic of the discussion, and we all know that Canadian economy, the current state of the Canadian economy doesn't really stand alone in this ever-changing world economy of the 21st century. And Ralph is ideal for discussions that we're going to do today. So I know we're really, really running out of time. So we only have 1 hour today. So without further ado, my friends and great mentor, Ralph Goodell.
No. Thank you.
I could say more.
And Ken, thank you, and thanks to everybody for coming. It's nice to be back in Kingsway once again. My first encounter with Kingsway was back in the 1970s, when your member of parliament was the inimitable Sima Holt. Yes. Sima and I were both elected together for the first time in the first election in 1974, and we sat together on the farthest back bench in the House of Commons. I was here, Sima was right there, and I got to know Kingsway through her eyes back then, and have known a number of your members of parliament over the years, and certainly looking forward to the time when Kingsway will be back in the Liberal column. I guess was Kingsway Sophia's writing?
Yes.
It was.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I thought so.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it was. It's nice to be back again. On the economy, we're living through some fascinating and challenging and even dangerous times. I think they hold great potential if we properly manage the Canadian economy. But I am deeply concerned that that's exactly not what Mr. Harper's government is doing. You remember about a year ago, when all of the signs began to accumulate that Canada was slipping deep into recession like the rest of the world, Mr. Harper's view was there wouldn't be much, if any, of a recession in Canada, and the country would certainly never, ever, ever run a deficit. And he produced an economic plan in November of last year, which actually was a restraint program. It called for very severe cutbacks on federal expenditures, which of course, when you're in a recession, is exactly the wrong thing to do. If the plan that Mr. Harper had put forward in November of last year had actually been implemented, the recession in Canada would have been deeper and longer than it has been. At that time, every economist in the country said he was wrong. including people in his own party were telling him he was wrong. And it took a constitutional crisis to get his attention, but he was forced to change his mind. In all of the chaos, you remember he adjourned Parliament for 2 months because he couldn't face the accountability in the House. Came back in January of this year with his version of a stimulus plan to fight the recession. We thought the plan was not nearly as good and as focused as it needed to be. But we recognized the reality last January that the House of Commons had in effect been out of commission since June. The House adjourned in the summer, in June of last year, not this year, last year, in the normal way. Then instead of coming back into business in September, which it should have been, when all the signs of a recession were becoming obvious, and people like Gordon Brown in the United States, and even for heaven's sakes, George Bush, Gordon Brown in the UK and George Bush in the United States were actually beginning to do something about it. Harper decided to have an election. And that took Parliament out of commission for all of last fall. When he came in, he had that ridiculous economic statement that created the constitutional crisis. So nothing was accomplished in November or December. So by the time we got to his stimulus budget at the end of January of this year, the House of Commons and the Government of Canada had effectively been out of commission for 7 months. So we faced the decision then, do you bring him down right then and there and have another election, or do you try to work with what he put forward in his budget? And that was the decision Mr. Ignatieff made, that it was better to have at least some stimulus rather than none at all, and we'd try to give this government an opportunity to show what it could do.